Hi, Shana Tova. For those who don't know me, my name is Yelena Keller-Wyman. I use she, her pronouns, and I am 21 years old and a senior at Binghamton University. I haven't been around too much in the past couple of years as I've been away at college, so I may not have met some of the newer people, but I went through Sunday school and the Bar and Bat Mitzvah program here at the city congregation. Last week, I was in Rochester for one of the nights of protests following the murder of Daniel Prude by the Rochester police. As I'm sure you all know, Daniel Prude's brother called the police for help following a mental health episode, and the police responded by suffocating Daniel with a spit bag. His murder was covered up for over 8 months until the body cam footage was just recently released. In Rochester, my friends and I, as well as many other protesters, were pepper sprayed and shot at with pepper balls for the crime of standing and chanting several feet away from the line of police on the bridge leading up to the police station. We left that night with just some bruises and pepper spray in our hair and clothing, which we managed to handle with dish soap. One of the most important reasons so many of us were able to stay safe was because of the community of support around us. Joining the protests in Rochester was one way to be a part of an important fight for social justice, and protesting has been one way that many people have been responding to the police murders of Black people. It's a very visible way to respond, but not the only way. In Rochester, and in any protest, particularly ones in which the police use violence, the support of many people make it possible for others to be on the front lines. There are the organizers, the people who donate supplies and money, the people who march, the marshals who help keep everyone on the same page, the legal aid teams who pass out phone numbers ahead of time in case of arrests, and the medics who had an especially important role in Rochester. The medics in Rochester took care of whoever needed help. They poured water into our eyes after we were pepper sprayed and got us to safety as we were walking blindly. What I witnessed in Rochester was how the protesters together were a community and how we all acted together taking care of this community. The protests would have been much less sustainable without this care, and I have seen the value of this in other areas. In the midst of COVID, in Binghamton, where I am in school, 2 students started a mutual aid supply and food pantry out of the local Citizen Action Office. Many neighborhoods in Binghamton are in a food desert to begin with, and as we all know, COVID made situations worse for a lot of people, particularly those who are financially vulnerable to begin with. Here in Binghamton, people are working to redistribute food and resources, working to keep people alive. This is important everywhere, but it is especially crucial in a place like Binghamton where politicians and local government seem to actively try to harm people as much as possible. Binghamton Social Services, for example, decided to not exempt residents from welfare sanctions during COVID, as New York State allowed them to, and as a result, Broome County, where Binghamton is located, has had the highest sanction rate in the state during COVID. For anyone who doesn't know, sanctions are basically punishments for breaking the rules and regulations of welfare, such as missing an appointment or not taking an undesirable, low-paying job. As a punishment, people lose the benefits that they need for a period of time. Another incredible example I have seen of people taking care of each other in their community is in a local Binghamton organization called Truth Farm. That's Farm with a PH if anyone is interested in looking into them further. Truth Farm is a harm reduction-based nonprofit aimed at reducing harm caused by substance use. They do legal advocacy work, but I'd argue that the most powerful work they do is simply taking care of people. They provide housing and resources for those who need it, which drastically reduces the number of substance use deaths, and they provide support for substance users and their families. I have done some volunteering and am now interning with them, and I have learned that most of the volunteers, which is the majority of people who do work for them, have been affected by substance use in some way. The founder and director, an incredible woman named Alexis Plus, founded Truth Farm after her son died from an overdose. For these people, everyone affected by substance use is a part of their community, and so they do what they can to take care of them. The idea of community is, of course, not so simple. We are all one community here at the city congregation. My friends are one of my communities, my family is another one, I am part of a community of other Binghamton students, and I am part of the larger Binghamton community. I chose to engage directly with this larger Binghamton community, but just being in the physical place of Binghamton, all of us students gain a lot from the larger community, regardless of whether or not we ever give anything back. Each of us is part of our own community of family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, and neighbors, and then as Jews, we are part of a larger Jewish community. For all of us, taking care of each other is one way to challenge the idea of individualism. My grandmother fled to Chile from Nazi Germany in 1939 with her mother. One important story in our family that always seems to be emphasized was that while waiting for their boat to Chile from Italy, they had no money and an Italian man took them out to dinner. Later on, my great-grandmother found some money that had been slipped into her purse. This man, while not a part of their immediate community, took care of them in a direct way. This went against the norm and against the systems of anti-Semitism and fascism. I'm sure many other Jewish families have similar stories of people helped or saved by radical acts of care. In our world, taking care of each other can be a radical act. You and I, and all of us, need to keep expanding our ideas of community and who we take care of and how. Expanding our communities beyond our friends and families directly challenges racism and classism and the systems of oppression that the United States was founded on that pull us apart. Social justice encompasses many things, but at its core is taking care of each other in whatever ways we can. Going to protests is a very visual aspect of fighting for social justice, with things like talking and listening to a stranger or buying food for a hungry family are important as well. In a broader sense, it is important to be working to understand how we all benefit from exploitative systems and how we can give back to those most affected and change systems going forward. These systems that we still benefit from include slavery, colonialism, the police and prison industrial system, capitalism, sexism, racism, and binary ideas of gender and sexuality. This isn't necessarily a simple task, as those are obviously big systems to undo, but we see around us a growing movement to do exactly that, and we can all be a part of it in different ways. The nameless man who helped my grandmother and her mother to eat and get a hotel didn't eradicate anti-Semitism or end Nazi power, but he did help our family survive, and he did treat them with dignity and as part of his community, which was a radical act against anti-Semitism at the time. Let us all try to do the same in 21st century America as well. Thank you.